Antarctica's untamed beauty has long been protected by its isolation, making it a haven for wildlife. Once it was the realm of legendary explorers like Robert Falcon Scott, Sir Edmund Hillary, and my cousin, Sir Ernest Shackleton. Today, a few intrepid visitors board powerful icebreakers for a rare glimpse of the seventh continent. But Antarctica remains a land without natives. Even so, there are people with reason to call it home. They are the men and women who live and work in the world's most extreme environment.
It doesn't have to be an Everest that you tackle, or South Pole, or the bottom of the ocean. There are so many other challenges that they are there to be met, but they will just remain challenges if you don't summon up all your strength and give them a go.
There are elements that just had become ordinary in my life, and I was looking for extraordinary.
I don't miss the hustle and bustle, the day-to-day life in the city. I don't miss traffic.
A half-hour commute on a freeway full of cars and people who, for the most part, don't like each other.
I managed a television store, ended up buying into it, and just all the hours I put in. I mean, made good money, but it owned me, I didn't own it.
I hear people talking about their jobs and how boring it is and how they wish they could do something else, but they're locked into this and they have debt and they have payments.
Oh, for sure. I mean, to live the American dream, to have a mortgage, have multiple cars, a couple kids and a dog, is what we're all after. A couple credit cards to bury you in a little deeper. And that's exactly the path I was on.
It's what everybody else wanted me to do and what I thought I should be doing, and realized this isn't it.
I had always kind of thought that you should have more of your life than 2 weeks out of each year, and to leave the States and find a job where I could actually do that and meet more people that actually thought that way, I realized that I wasn't a freak and that there was other people out there that felt that way. And
keeping perspective on what's important, what I want to accomplish with the time I've got.
And I think I was ready for big change and ready for a lot of unknowns.
So I quit the job at the Volvo place and I came down to Antarctica to work for less than minimum wage.
You find out about the ice, you find out about going to the ice through somebody else.
A friend of mine that I had sailed with in New York came into the shop one day to announce she was going to Antarctica. And we were all just amazed to think that you could do this.
Heard about the ice, thought this is kind of a cool gig. I think I could do this.
I wasn't even happy about finding out about the ice. In fact, when I found out you could go there, I just knew that I was going to. And it wasn't even so much that I thought I wanted to as that I suddenly knew I was going to have to.
What? Antarctica? How do you get down there?
The moon is located 230,000 miles from Earth. Remarkably, it was less than 60 years before man stood on the moon that he first stood at the South Pole. The ice which held Antarctica captive throughout the winter begins to break up. This is a signal for Antarctica's summer inhabitants to return to her shores. Humans too can begin the migration south. The journey begins in Christchurch, New Zealand. Here they don their extreme cold weather gear and board military aircraft for their deployment south. The flight from Christchurch to McMurdo Station, Antarctica, covers 2,500 miles of open ocean. With insufficient fuel to turn back, the plane must now land on the frozen ocean, surrounded by a polar landscape like none other on Earth.
It's big. Antarctica is big.
It is something you have to see with your own eyes.
I mean, there's just very few places on Earth left where you really feel that sense of the enormity of space.
But you're sitting there and you start to realize that you're on the icy buttocks of the world. People aren't meant to be there. And I think when people get a little bit of hubris going, it seems like Antarctica always comes around and puts them in their place.
Antarctic animals begin the rituals of breeding during the small window of opportunity that summer affords. At the same time, scientists and support crews are leaving McMurdo to begin their work in the hostile frontier.
When we're working, we're usually in somewhere that's really, really beautiful.
As beautiful as it is, it wants to kill you. I think in my job we get reminded of that enough to have a pretty healthy respect for the place.
I love my job, and a big part of why I love it is that we do get to work in the field more than anything.
In the summers, I'm an antenna rigger, sort of any work that requires climbing up into high places and making sure that people have communications.
I climbed a tower and the wind was blowing so hard that I could not fall off backwards. And I was just pinned against the tower. I did my work just standing there, enjoying the wind holding me up, and then I got down as quickly as possible and I ran off to the helicopter.
Depending on what your job is, you could be out, dropped off in a helicopter and only have a couple hours to set up a shelter, establish radio communications, and cook your food for that night. And if you don't work hard enough, then you're sleeping on the snow.
There's like a main building, a kitchen and maybe a shower that you'll probably never use. And then outside, you just look around and it's probably the only time you really feel like you're in Antarctica. It's like you're fighting against a whole lot of different elements because you're taking the most menial task and just adding a whole lot of challenge to it.
I've had to sleep in my tent naked with the doors open because it's so hot in the tent. It actually melts down into the snow. And then I've also slept in a tent at -58 that no matter what you do, you can't stay warm.
thrive in bad weather. I thrive in situations where maybe other people would want to kind of give up a little bit.
Through that season, what kept me going was having my best friend on the crew with me, and we were able to just sometimes look at each other and give a little look, like, this is nuts, what are we doing here?
At the height of summer, animals feed in the teeming waters and flourish on the continent's shores. There are over 100 science stations scattered across the continent. With a summer population of 1,000, McMurdo is by far the largest and busiest station in Antarctica.
When you look over and you just see all this haphazard collection of corrugated buildings.
It looks like a mining town when you see it. Until you start walking around it, and it has a little bit of a different feel than a mining town. McMurdo Station consists of many buildings. A medical facility, a firehouse, heavy equipment repair shops, small engine repair shops, a carpenter shop, laboratory, aquariums.
Well, I tell my friends that anything that you can do in a small town in America, you can do in Antarctica. We have plumbers, postmaster, shuttle drivers, laundry people, you name it. There's probably 10 to 15% of the population is actually performing science, and the rest of us are just, keeping the power, electricity, heat running. I feel it has its own beauty, and that really comes in the contrast of the man-made objects and the natural beauty that is around McMurdo Station. A lot of people expect to be sleeping in a tent when they get down there, but the rooms are actually quite nice. 2 people to a room and fairly spacious. The furniture is incredibly tacky, but again, you're in Antarctica. We have a little margarita party today. Teresa, that's my girlfriend. She just got back from 3 weeks in the field. Having a little welcome back party.
We all work hard. We do our jobs. We do work, 54 hours a week. But our time off, being that we don't have to worry about the little things in life. We don't have to cook our own meals. We don't have to drive or commute to and from work. I work 300 yards from where I live.
There's no hassles, there's none of that busy life stuff, but that frees you up to get into a lot of stuff, social stuff down on the ice. There's recreational events happening nearly every night. There's a soccer league, a volleyball league.
Most popular sport in Antarctica is bowling. You get together beforehand, have a few drinks, and then you go down to the 2 lanes that are both warped in their own special way. For some reason, that's fun.
The 80s party and the bingo on every other Wednesday and karaoke on the odd Wednesdays. There's actually a band room with a full PA system and all the equipment that you need to have your own rock band.
The community becomes your family down there. They are all your brothers and sisters, and it's true that you do lust after some of your sisters down there, but that's just the way it goes.
People talk about the women down there all the time. go ugly early, because by the time the attractive women turn you down, the unattractive women are already going to have boyfriends.
You know, cross-dressing is huge down there. You don't see that on any of the documentaries that you watch on television on Antarctic life.
You better say it makes me look thin.
But even some of the scientists, you'll see them down in the rec department grabbing a big ballroom gown to go wear to a party. It's not a dress party, it's just what they decide to wear. And we can get away with it. Nobody cares what you do down there. Maybe one guy, and he'll just try to make out with you, but that's just his style.
Animals must leave before the ocean freezes once again. As summer comes to a close, crews leave for all points north. Amazingly, not everyone is leaving. Emperor penguins defy logic by staying to breed through the heart of the Antarctic winter. But for nearly 50 years, the emperors have not been alone. People are heading further south still. For those who live and work in Antarctica, spending the winter at the South Pole is the pinnacle of Antarctic experiences.
It's white, it's flat, it's fucking cold.
Wow, we really were in the middle of nowhere. I remember when the last plane left, and that was a really tough day for me. I spent the entire day assessing and evaluating how quickly I could pack and get on the last plane. Just felt pretty isolated and looked at the people around me and just felt like, I don't know who these people are, I don't want to know them.
Here, a crew of 75 people will weather the Antarctic winter, cut off from the rest of the world for the next 8 months.
This huge station emerges, and I felt like I was in a movie. Like, it felt ridiculous.
I'll never forget that first 10 minutes walking down into the galley. And the pipes and the power plants running and blowing smoke all over you. And it was honestly just like stepping out of your nice, safe world and stepping into a science fiction novel.
I like that it's sort of in the ground, the dome, that you're definitely a part of the ice. It's sort of a comforting feeling, I think, of the dome, just because it's sort of womb-like and with all the little pods of buildings around. I love my little hobbit hole room that I had with the little hatch that opened up to the outside.
Just with the onset of the sun setting and it being dark, like, I think just naturally your mood changes, your body changes, and things just slow way down.
Physically, the only difficult thing about wintering is working outside. I spent about a month every other day working in temperatures down to, I think, 104 Fahrenheit was, minus 104 Fahrenheit was the coldest it got, and we were out there for a couple hours. And it just really saps you. Sometimes it feels like you're walking through mud. You have to work harder to even walk. By about August of a winter, people are all starting to go slowly insane.
You want to go away. You're tired of being cold. It's dark all the time.
And I don't mean insane in necessarily a clinical sense, but people start getting a little weird.
There's 2 months, 36 hours left till I have sex again or whatever.
And sort of stare off in
You just become a bit of a zombie.
I helped wash the dishes back in April, and now it's August. Someone else can do it, you know.
You're just gonna get bored and fat and dumb.
in the winter where you're all stuck there and you know all 75 of them pretty well, there is no facade.
There's no small talk, there's no superfluous detail.
The interesting part is going from that to the end of the year and looking around and saying, wow, I really like these people. You start to know people so intimately and their habits that, yeah, by the end of the season, those habits that you would have maybe been annoying, like all of a sudden it's endearing.
I do find it ironic that I'm going to this isolated place and it's chock full of people you can't get away from.
Here you are with these people, so live with it and enjoy it if you can. And that's what I tried to do.
The return of the sun finds new life in the Emperor rookeries.
If going down there like was an element of surprise and unexpected, adventures, continuing going down is really just a growing comfort in the people and the relationships that you formed.
There's a lot of very, very cool people there, some great folks, and it's nice to come back and see them.
We have people from all walks of life. You have your young kids who are taking a year off of college or have just graduated. You have scientists, of course, academics, travelers, there's hippies, there's bikers, there's adrenaline addicts. You name it, you're going to find those people down there. And we all have the one thing in common is that, when you heard that word Antarctica, their eyes light up and they have to get down there.
Frequently, your involvement with family, with your children, and with other people, even though it's not so dramatic, can be more impressive and last longer in your mind than just merely climbing a mountain.
We played touchdown, and I looked around. I was heading for the dome when a winner over passed me by as he was going home. He grabbed me and said, "You'll go mad in the head. You have no idea what is in store." 'Twas plain